Welcome to Americana Archives. Travel back in time with us as we go throughout America's historic newspapers to find the lost and forgotten history of America. Today's story comes from the great state of Pennsylvania, being reported in the Hershey Press of April 29th, 1910. Today's headline is Does the Saloon Help Business? It says, this means, does drinking whiskey, beer, etc. help the business conditions of a community? There are some people who say it does, but it is a great question whether or not they have ever given the subject careful consideration. Here is a concrete case, which is certainly convincing. The banker is undoubtedly the most reliable index of business conditions in every community. He knows whether the different lines of business are healthy or unhealthy. He knows whether or not there's trouble in the grocery line, the dry goods line, or any other line. He can tell you better than anyone else whether the people in the community are prospering or not. 1 year after all the saloons of Kansas City, Kansas had been closed, the assistant state attorney wrote to all the bankers of the city, except one, inquiring about the effect of the closed saloon on business. The following replies were received. The Home City Bank wrote, saying that as a result of abolishing the saloons, their business had increased 46%. The letter ended by saying that when people are not permitted to spend money for a bad cause, they will invest it for a good purpose. The vice president of a bank in Amerdale wrote that their business had increased 36%. Another bank wrote that not only has their business wonderfully increased, but all departments of the civic life of the city is better than ever before. A letter from the savings bank stated that not only had their business increased 50%, but that 75% of the new customers were from the class that formerly spent all their money for liquor. An officer of the largest bank in the city wrote under date of June 22, 1907 as follows. Referring to your inquiry, with reference to general conditions since the closing of saloons in this city, I am pleased to state that the joints have now been closed for a year. 1 year ago, our deposits were $2,663,000. At the close of business last night, 1 year later, our deposits were $3,932,832, an increase of about $1,700,000 in the deposits of one bank alone. This bank, the officers thought, would go to pieces if the saloons were closed. The letter further says, we think we had the accounts of more than 50% of our businessmen of this city, and have talked with a large number of them about effects of the closing of joints on their business. With few exceptions, they have stated that they are pleased with the results. I believe this feeling is shared by a large majority of the professional men and other intelligent citizens of our city. The state of Illinois is a state of rich soil with abundant rain. It is a state with all the natural advantages to make it a state of great wealth. It is a state with the open saloon. The state of Kansas is a state one half of whose territory was formerly known as the Great American Desert. It is a state that is the home of cyclone, the grasshopper, the drought, and the green bug, and yet with only one half the age of Illinois, the people of Kansas have 3 times as much money on deposit per capita as the people of Illinois. Another instance is Maine, the pine tree state, with one half of her territory unfit for cultivation, and yet more prosperous than Illinois. In 1855, when Maine abolished the saloon, it was the poorest state in the Union, the most drunken state in the Union. And yet, after 50 years of no saloon, the people there have on deposit in the banks $104 per capita, while Illinois has $20.74 per capita. While Maine was the poorest and most drunken state in the Union, yet during the 50 years of no saloon, Maine has organized more banks and has in them $22 million more than as the state of Ohio, with 6 times her population, but with the open saloon. Booze and bankruptcy go hand in hand. Thank you for joining us today. Remember before you leave to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and remember to like and comment below. And we will see you next time on Americana Archives.